some of our colleagues are not yet back from the hall there, and I want the next presentation is very, very important. Somebody mentioned about when Flexi-Biogas was asked a question whether they should do compressed. I think Tobias will do justice to that as well. I would just like to request you, if you are seated behind and there is an empty seat in front of you, songa mbele. I would not like to have these empty seats here. Yes. Yeah, songa mbele. I want to see Engineer Bess, Miss Kimari, let's come here, kindly. Yes. As we do that, I'm sure, Muzi, there's an empty seat in front of you. Yes. And my colleagues, yes. I don't want us to have those empty seats. Yeah. And so that you understand, the conversation we are having here is to transition so that next year we'll not be having a Kenyan Biogas conference, we'll be having an African one. So I hope GIZ you've heard of that, and go talk to your colleagues in that space, right? Yes, and I've talked to a colleague of mine from another country as well. They don't have biogas huko kwao. So Flexi, you need to be aware. So let me give a minute to my classmate so umesema just a friend of mine atuambia anatoka wapi. He doesn't know Swahili. Just Muzi, just a minute. Yeah. And us to tell us where he come from and why they don't have biogas there, so that we want opportunities for you to expand to those. Collins, Greenyard, yes. Yeah.
All right, greetings everyone. Okay, I hope you're all good. I'm Muzi Langamandla from Eswatini. I'm studying in JKUAT, doing my master's in energy technology. So part of the coursework, we studied some course on biofuels, which are covered also biogas. So it was my first time to have such an encounter to learn about such technologies for energy generation. So I was so keen to learn more about it. I only had knowledge from class, but now I wanted to get more of that knowledge and experience so that I can take it back home. I grew up in that place. I've not heard of any company that is in this energy space for biofuels. So, and I know there are some food processing companies there, and they produce waste from pineapples. Some are producing waste from beef products, waste products from beef processing. So there are quite a lot of opportunities which I think I would have to take the opportunity to explore them back at home. So I'm looking forward to learn more and get to be an expert in this field so that I can explore those opportunities at home. So this is a very good opportunity for me. I'm here to learn more and understand. And I'm looking forward to getting more connections with the experts, especially the technicians who have done some projects on making some domestic biogas facilities so that they can assist me to carry out some project like that at home. I really want to take this technology back at home. Thank you.
Yes. So hopefully next year we'll be having this conversation. Flexi-Biogas will be operating in Eswatini by that time, and also Greenyard Limited. I've not seen Collins. So we transition now to a very quick presentation. So I'll welcome Tobias. He'll introduce himself, and then we can proceed from there. Thank you.
Thank you. So welcome from my side as well. I hope you can hear me properly. First of all, I want to thank you all for having me or us here today. So far, we really enjoyed our stay, so thank you. Today, I want to tell you a bit about the large-scale biogas systems, specifically the situation we have at the moment in Germany, and how we got there. So if you could please go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So here you can see the history basically of biogas. It did not start in 2006, it's just because I don't have the data before that. It actually properly started in the year 2000 with the incentives with our new Renewable Energy Source Act. So before that, so around 2000, we only had 100 or 106 to be exact biogas plants in Germany. Then they introduced fixed tariffs within the Renewable Energy Source Act. And you can see it that, for example, here until 2006, we already had 2,500 biogas plants in Germany. So to clarify that, those 2,500 biogas plants, they are not like small scale or household, they are like industrial biogas plants, which I will show to you later. So in total, where we are now, we are with around a bit above 10,000 biogas plants. We had a really strong growth and a really, really good development of the biogas plants. You can see that here, for example. So here we have to deviate a bit. So here I will talk about, or I will mainly talk about biogas plants where we use the biogas locally, where it's produced. So for example, in gas engines or gas turbines to produce electricity. And there we now in the year, or not now, but last year in the year 2025, we had, for example, 6.8 gigawatt power, electric power installed. And with that, we reached a gross electricity production of around 29 terawatt hours. So to make that a bit more, a bit comprehensible, a bit easier to understand, to grasp it better, that makes out, for example, around 5.5% of the total electricity production in Germany. Of course, we are not only producing electricity, we can produce thermal energy as well, or biomethane, so we can upgrade it and put it into the natural gas grid as well. So therefore, we not only have electricity, but we have a lot of biomethane and a lot of heat produced as well. Yeah, when you can please go to the next slide. Really important is that not only the biogas plants increased in Germany, but their tasks also changed. So there was a really strong development from which we all, I think, could learn. So at the beginning, the operation was base load. So they had to provide constant power with CHP engines, for example, with the increase of other renewable energies like PV or wind, which are fluctuating a lot. The tasks for the biogas plants changed as well. So now we are talking about a demand-oriented operation for grid stabilization operation. They got that through additional means, for example, with additional CHP engines or with gas storage systems, for example. When we go to the next slide, you can see what I have prepared for today. So I want to talk with you through the beginning, basically. So what are we putting into our biogas plants? How is it working then, and what are we doing with our biogas plants then at the end? So this one is of course really critical. So what are we throwing into our biogas plants? What you can see here, if you look at the right one, it's the mass-based. So what kind of mass we are throwing into the biogas plants? You can see that here that it's all sort of material. It's like residual materials from industry, which makes out a large portion. Really important municipal waste, of course. And in Germany, we have this speciality of manure, of course, which is always quite important, and the energy crops, which is special for Germany. That's what you can see here in the blue at the bottom. Yeah. So if you go to the next slide, we can have a bit of a deeper look, because manure and energy crops, it's always a bit you can understand a lot under it. So here I prepared it a bit better for you for the year 2024 in Germany. There you can see, for example, what kind of manure they use. So the majority of it is cattle, slurry, pig, and poultry manure. On the right side, we have the energy crops. So as I said, energy crops, it's a specialty for Germany. So that's basically crops you could also use for other things, for example, for feeding animals and so on, for food production. So that's the change that we are doing in Germany as well. Basically, they introduced it in the year 2000. They used starting energy crops like maize in biogas plants because there were too many crops in Germany and the farmers could not sell them anymore. That's the reason why the government actually started this incentive of growing biogas plants, that the farmers have an additional mean of income and use their crops, which they cannot sell for food, in the biogas plants. Of course, as you can assume, now we have this challenge that now we don't have this situation anymore. There's not enough food basically in Germany. And of course, it's not environmental friendly. It's not, it's simply not good. I think I don't have to explain it further. So that's why we have this challenge at the moment to get or to reduce those energy crops that we are using and start to use more environmental friendly and more impactful substrates. Yeah, in the next slide, I want to focus on the biogas plant itself. So how does it look like? What does an industrial or agricultural biogas plant look like? So for that, I first want you to understand that it's a really complicated process which is happening in there. So maybe some of you know that it's like a really complex 4-stage process. And of course, in theory, it is really complicated, but in practice, it's not. That's why you can see in the next slide. If you can continue to the next slide, please. Yeah, that's what basically a typical industrial biogas plant is looking like. So you have your substrate, you put into an automated feeder. Then you have different stages. It can be 1 stage, it can be 5 stages, which you can operate in serial or parallel. After that, you have drying, desulfurization, and then, in this case, you burn the biogas in a local CHP engine and produce electricity, which you feed into the grid, and heat, which you can store or feed into a heat grid, or use it for other means. So here, of course, it's really important. Here I used an example where they use the biogas locally. Of course, you always have the option to upgrade it, to put it into a natural gas grid, or to use it as fuel, or whatever you would like to do with it. Yeah, really important is that with those digesters, you see that here on the left in a small picture and a small schematic, that's what you usually have here in this case of a constantly stirred digester or reactor, that you have a steering, that you have a heating, that you have a fresh substrate, drain of course, and that you have your biogas with additional storage normally. So that's what this gas space above the liquid is for. If you can go to the next slide. Yeah, what you can see here, that's a picture of a biogas plant. I think in this case it's actually for upgrading, but it doesn't really matter for the sake of what I want to tell you. Really important here, what you can see is the gas storage. So all those domed roof shapes that you have, that's all for the gas storage, which is of course really important when you have a huge operation. And when you want to operate it demand-oriented, it gets even more important to actually save the biogas. Yeah, that's one of the main advantages that biogas has compared with other renewable resources, that you can actually store it in a storage. Not compared to PV, where of course it's possible with a battery, but not directly. If you go to the next slide. So now we want to talk about what are we actually doing with our biogas. So therefore I really want to focus on what actually is biogas, because that's really important to know that biogas is already around 55 or 50% methane. The rest is mainly CO2, but of course you have other small gas components in it, like oxygen, nitrogen, ammonia, and so on. If you can go to the next slide. That's the example what we are usually doing in biogas plants. So I'm not sure about the ratio of the local utilization and the upgrading and putting it into a natural gas grid. But in most of the biogas plants in Germany, you are actually using the biogas locally, like in this case in a CHP engine. So it can be like a typical engine, just a bit bigger than in a car, or a gas turbine. And there you have normally like electric efficiencies of around 35 to 42 percentages. Of course, with that you have waste heat where you can use as well. And typically you put the electricity into the electricity grid, and the heat you can then use for other applications. And if you can go to the next slide, you can see what we are actually using the heat for. Of course, I think for Kenya it's not that important, but in Germany, we have a lot colder temperatures, specifically in winter, so therefore we actually need the heat here, for example, for heating up the houses. But of course, even if you don't need the waste heat to heat houses up, you can use it for drying process, for example. So there are a lot of applications for it. Yeah, really important here, of course, is to mention the digesters that we usually have. They are heated because the efficiency of the digester is a lot better when it is at a certain temperature level. So, for example, around 43 degrees. But if you read into that, you know that there's a lot more to it. But just to clarify that of course you need a certain energy for heating up basically your biogas plant as well. Okay, so that's already it from my side. Of course, I'm here the rest of the day, or if you have any questions, you can always contact me via email. And later, of course, I'm here for any questions you may have. So thank you for listening.
Just a minute. I think because we did the Q&A when he had not presented, so it will do justice to go to, if there is any question specifically to the presentation that he's made, we can raise that question now as we transition to the next. Yes. Media people, can we have the microphones going around?
Thank you for the presentation. It's a nice one. My concern is the composition of the biogas. I've seen much of it is methane and carbon dioxide. And I'm wondering, because these are the main contributors to global warming, could you be getting a solution on one side and creating a problem on the other side? Thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify that, so you're talking about when we are burning the methane or the biogas in a CHP engine, that we are emitting CO2, and that is bad for the environment. That was the question. Did I get that right?
I've not gotten you.
Could you repeat the question again, please?
I'm saying,
Yeah.
when I saw the composition of the biogas, much of it is methane. The percentage of methane and carbon dioxide is the highest. And we know that those two gases contributing to global warming. Then I'm asking, could we be getting a solution on one side and also creating a problem on the other side?
Yeah, so it is really important. So there
I think, Tobias, let's have all the questions and then you can answer all of them. Is that okay?
maybe I will answer this question because
No problem.
now
No
it's
problem.
present.
Yes.
And I can answer it quickly. So it really depends on the substrate you put into, because if they are waste, for example, when you talk about manure, so manure you would use anyway, you put it on the field. And it's there, it would emit, for example, methane, because it's already in there. So when you're using waste, you have the emissions anyway. But what you are doing is you're putting it into a biogas plant, and then you have at least energy out of it. So the reason why it is working and why you can say it's CO2 neutral, of course it depends on what substrate you put into there, but you're talking about like the circular economy. So it grows, for example, whatever you're using, it grew sometimes a plant, for example, there it binds practically the CO2 on it, and then you use it, and then you release the CO2 again. So I hope that's clarified that. So it's basically, a circle you're running. And when you're using it in a biogas plant, in this case of manure, for example, it's actually better for the environment when you use it in a biogas plant. For example, when you're talking about like emitting methane directly into the atmosphere, it's a lot worse than emitting CO2, for example, because they have different climate impact factors.
Okay, so we can have the next question from this side as well.
Okay, my question is, I'm not sure if you already mentioned, but what biogas upgrading systems do you employ at the moment to ensure higher efficiency for CHP use?
Could you repeat it again, please? I think I have problems with the box
Okay.
here.
I'm asking what biogas upgrading systems do you employ at the moment to ensure that the efficiency goes up for CHPUs?
Yeah, thank you. Now I got it. No, that's a really important question. So there's actually not much they are doing. So what you are doing normally when you're working with a normal biogas engine, so of course it's already adapted for biogas. What you are doing is basically dewatering, desulfurization. So you want to get rid of any sulfur or H2S which is in a biogas because that's corrosive and will hurt the engine. And then you maybe have like a catalyst before that or some zeolites, and then you put it directly into the engine. So there's actually not much you have to do. Of course, when you talk about like when you want to get to natural gas purity, then it's another story.
It's not working. You can send it to me. Another question, you can just proceed. Yeah, send it to me so that we have a common laptop and then we can load it.
So mine was a bit related to what she has asked. What sort of efficiency rate have you managed to achieve with your biogas generators? Because that's one of the reasons here we discourage the use of even trying to convert biogas to electricity in the first place.
So you're talking about the CHP engines, right? Yeah, so as I know of, they have like maximum efficiencies of around like 42, so electric efficiency, 42%. But I know that they are developing a lot, but I also know that in practice they are not reaching this efficiency always like it is. But that's at least what is on the modern data sheets. That's around 42%. But other than that, there's just a bit of pre-processing, but that's mostly to get the CHP engine to operate as long as you can, so to reduce maintenance. It's not about like improving efficiency.
Maybe a quick one. Thank you, Tobias.
Yeah, so it's in connection with the efficiency, because I know when you are using maybe kitchen waste or any other kind of feedstock to produce this biomethane, how do you take care of the volatile fatty acids? So probably like limit production of this biomethane. How do you go about it? Because probably that is a conversation that probably some of the key stakeholders are really struggling with here in Kenya.
Thank you. Yeah, of course that is a problem, and I know there specifically in research they are doing a lot about it. So I know it's, for example, the same problem when you're talking about like chicken manure, because there's a lot of protein in it. You have then a lot of ammoniac which can inhibit it too. Of course it is a problem. I think in reality you have to do it with experience. Like that's what a lot of biogas plant operators actually have done in Germany. When it started, they had basically no idea what they were doing, to be honest. So they had problems with the biogas plants, and it's individual for each biogas plant. I think, as we all know, because even the substrate depends on seasonality, it depends on biogas plant, it depends on a year. So I think it's first of all a lot of experience, and then what you can, of course, do, it's the only way to make sure that you have no accumulation, for example, of volatile fatty acids, is measurement. And I know, for example, that there are new concepts like we presented, or a company, a startup of Germany presented in one of our sessions. So they developed, for example, a new measurement method where they, based on the CO2 pressure in the liquid phase of the biogas, they were able to forecast basically the behavior. They can forecast, for example, the accumulation of volatile fatty acids. And of course, what they are doing in this case, when you talk about kitchen waste, is they really do regular laboratory tests. But of course, you don't want to do that because it's expensive. Yeah, so in total, there's no real answer to that yet, I guess.
we can have that as the last question as we transition to, because it'll be part of the panel discussion, so I think we can answer so much questions. We have a hand there.
Okay, thank you. My name is Evans. I work with an organization called Africa Bioenergy Programs Limited. I have a question. Some of the challenges we experience as a sector, yes, it's good how I've seen how you try to manage the waste. Another challenge we normally experience with mostly with the large scale digester is in the byproduct coming from the biogas itself. So I just want to understand how is your country managing the slurry? Thank you.
So that's a really important question. So you mean the digest head? So there are like a lot. There's a huge number of ways how you can deal with it. So what they usually are doing is they basically have some form of separation after the digester. I think it was mentioned today as well. So they feed back the liquid phase. It's basically to save water, because in those constantly steered reactors you need like 11% dry matter. So you need a lot of water, which you normally don't have in a fresh substrate. So a huge portion they normally feed back. I know that there is a study, or it should be published soon, that even increases the biogas yield because you have a higher retention time then. And there's still some nutrients in the liquid phase. And with the solid phase, you use as a fertilizer, basically. But I know that there are also options to do something with the liquid phase as well. There they basically use like thermal processes and other means to how do you call it, to increase the concentration of nutrients. So they basically get rid of the water you feed back in the system, and the nutrients you keep. So that's another option you have. But of course, really important is that the options that I named, that I talked about agricultural biogas plants, where you only are allowed to use inputs which are not dangerous. For example, for food waste, for kitchen waste, or for slaughtery waste, it would be a different story, because there you have to really make sure that you don't have any, how do you call it, any bad microorganisms or whatever, any bacteria in it, which you then throw back on the field. So that's very regulated. I hope that did answer your question. But there's really like a wide range of options. But there.
Okay, I think at that point, the transition, there's something that reflects about the transition of the biogas generator. I just want to make sure that Tobias can reinforce on that. They don't use the biogas, the generator that we use with the efficiency of 40% as put it, but with a CHP unit, you're able to take the flue gas and recover the energy from that, yeah? With a CHP unit, so the efficiency increases. Isn't that so?
What do you mean exactly?
I mean, taking energy from the flue gas and recovering it as well will increase, the energy savings instead of just using a generator to generate electricity.
Yeah, so of course that's true. So what I talk about is the combustion engine or dual fuel engine. There you have those sorts of efficiency or electric efficiencies. Really important is that, so that's my mind basically, because we have another application in Germany. Because in Germany the heat you are having plays an important role as well. So if you are taking the electric efficiency and the thermal efficiency, if you can use the thermal energy as well, of course you can reach way higher efficiencies. Then you have your 42 electric efficiency, you have maybe another 40 thermal efficiency, so you can use the heat like in a normal engine. You have cooling, you have your exhaust gas, where you can use heat exchangers. That's how it's normally done, and then use it. So there you can get, for example, heat at 80 degrees, which you can use for drying process or heating or in some other industrial process. So thank you for clarifying.
I just wanted to make sure that we understand as we transition to large-scale projects, it will be called CHP units as well, especially for industrial applications. So I think I'll allow Tobias to take his seat so that we prepare for the panel discussion. And when we do that, because I'm waiting for that to set that, just your laptop. There are two important stakeholders that I want to recognize as part of our institutional framework here. We have, from our correctional facilities, we have 2 engineers from the Kenya Prison Service. I just want them to come say a word. The 2 engineers from Kenya Prison Service, what they do, so that our colleagues from the industry and also from our development partners, they are aware that we can as well build institutional capacity in our correctional facilities. So you introduce yourself. Yeah, just say.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruth Imelda. I am a civil engineer. I work with the Kenya Prison, based at the prison headquarters, Department of Infrastructure and Development. So currently we are doing something on biogas with the JIZ. They are the ones that are funding us. So that is what we are doing currently. We want to introduce and to maybe implement the use of biogas in our institution.
Afternoon. Okay, my name's Engineer Biovarya. I'm the head of water, sanitation, and renewable energy based at prison's headquarters. And just a brief history of how we've been trying to shift from wood fuel to clean cooking. Currently, we have around 135 penal institutions with capacity, or rather sitting customers of around close to 68,000 across Kenya. All that population requires breakfast, lunch, and supper, which must be prepared, and we don't use electricity. We use wood fuel. So you can see how we impact negatively as far as afforestation is concerned. So we've been trying very much to shift from wood fuel to clean cooking. And sometimes back in 2014, we adopted the biogas system as a pilot study across 14 stations. I mentioned we have 135, but we did a pilot with 14 stations, which cuts across Kenya. Some of the facilities are operational. Some could not operate efficiently because the kind of people we have, the knowledge, the maintenance, and collection of the raw materials. There are several challenges in that line because these are technologies which we were onboarding into already existing systems. And for the people who understand biogas very well, you know that that waste does not need any form of detergent in those chambers for it to produce gas. So that is where we failed in some of our systems across a few stations, but we are still partnering with other institutions to see if we can make it better and also improve and extend it to other stations. On top of that, we've also been looking at avenues of not only depending on biogas, but also adoption of LPG. We also did a pilot system. You've all heard of Langata Maximum. Yes. Just a few kilometers from here. We did a pilot project there for LPG. And I can authoritatively and boldly say that the case of Langata is a success. Because now for Langata, we no longer use wood fuel. We are using LPG, and the government has good plans in that in 2026, 2027 financial year, we have a small seed capital, which we will also use to extend development of the same in other fuel stations. So for the partners which are here, we also welcome you to come on board, either in terms of adoption of LPG or adoption of clean cooking, the biogas. That is in a nutshell. I don't want to speak much because I was given limited time. Otherwise, we can discuss that the whole day. There is a lot to discuss. And you are welcome to visit us so that we partner and we shift. You help us shift from wood fuel to gas. Sawa?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the Kenya Personal Service. And at least we are transitioning nicely. And I hope our industry partners from academia, from applied research, you are taking notes. And also from our development partners from the other side as well. Because next year it will be big. KPS, next year, when we'll be having a conference, we'll give you time to come and do a proper presentation to do justice to that as well. And by that time, the Nairobi County hopefully will have a success story to share as well. Yes, so the next guest, I don't know if I'm allowed to invite. I cannot even pronounce I know some of us who did English in high school, we really struggle. Whether it's, who did here When the Sun Goes Down and Other Stories? The short story in literature, When the Sun Goes Down. You are old, eh? Let me put it like that. Yeah, there was somebody a story by the name Colonel Carlo. You know, it was a character in that. It is set in Uganda, the NRM. Yeah. So let me invite Atasema, that name that I can't pronounce, from the Kenya Defense Forces. Yes.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Kamwasaru, and I work at the Defense Headquarters. I'm in charge of research and development at the Defense National Security Industries. And a little bit about biogas or renewable energies is that the Kenya Defense Forces is working very hard as we speak to supplement some of the camps and cantonments energy consumption into clean energy. And we have a pilot biogas project at the Defense Headquarters, which is under construction as we speak. And we have a working biogas project at Embakasi Garrison, which is already functional, and another one at the Kenya Military Academy in Nakuru, which is functional. And there is an ongoing transition in stages to other clean and green forms of energy. So in a nutshell, the rest has begun. We have a very, very long way to go. But we are determined to transition eventually fully to clean and green sources of energy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. He's a true military man. That's why I now understand the concept of military times, a concept that most of us from Africa, we have a problem grasping. So thank you so much for that. And as I said, next year as well, hopefully we'll be coming to hear about the success stories from the R&D department, right? Yeah, so at this point, we'll transition to panel discussions. And as they set up, we'll just take a minute or so as they set up. I would like to get your feedback of how the conference has been so far as they set up. Yes. Tuchangamke, how has the conference been so far? Have we met your expectations? Or have we exceeded? Yes.
Hello, my name is Billy Agustin Okulo. I'm from the Department of Biological and Life Sciences. Okay. So this is not directly my field, but it was quite informative from what I've gotten from you guys, yeah? Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning and connecting with all the stakeholders around the room. Thank you so much, yeah?
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. We are getting some very good feedback. And somebody has a question to the Kenya Prison Service. So as they set up there, just summarize that question. Yes.
No, mine was just to ask, with your biogas digesters, the 14 pilot project, what was I presume you're using the human waste, or what's your feedstock for the biogas digesters?
For the 14 stations which were done sometimes back in 2014, 2015, around 8 stations were directly using human waste collected from the wards. And that is why some of them failed, because there was no source separation of that waste. Because this system was being connected to an already existing one. But a few of them are depending on waste from our farms, because we also keep animals, and some of those are fully operational, though the capacity cannot meet the demand, because some of those institutions ask close to 4,000, 2,000, so cannot meet the demand.
Okay, so at this point, okay, they're still setting up. Yes, how was your, Collins, I can't give you because you are coming next year. So, yes, you would like some feedback. How has the conference been? Can I point at a random person? I do what my teachers used to do to me in class. Yes. How has the conference been? Okay, so at this point, I think we'll transition the program now to the panel, and I'll invite the moderator for that panel to proceed from there. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this panel discussion on biogas and sustainable energy solutions in Kenya, with key focus on industry, adoption, and policy. So in the morning sessions and the sessions we've had early this afternoon, we've already seen important insights on the potential of biogas in Kenya. In terms of technology development, in terms of applied research, policy and regulation, as well as the need to actually upscale biogas systems in Kenya. So this panel now gives us an opportunity to connect all these ideas and ask a very practical question that we may have been seeing been all through the morning. How do we move biogas in Kenya from small scale to large scale? And not only in Kenya, but also in Africa at large. We've also seen that an energy conservation is a waste management conservation, it's an industrial development conservation, agricultural productivity conservation, as well as climate action and sustainability conservation. And so, if we get it right with biogas, we are going to generate a lot of income generating prospects from all the way to, from our national government all the way to our local government. But then again, as much as that potential, we see that adoption of this biogas technology to actually scale it is not where most of us want it to be. This is because of issues to do with affordability, issues to do with availability of feedstock. And so this afternoon, I want to bring in a very diverse panel, a very strong and diverse panel representing research, industry, regulation, and the county. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our panelists. I'm going to start with Dr. Jonathan Wavomba from the Kenya Industry Research and Development Institute. Dr. Jonathan Wavomba is a research scientist at Kirdi and is going to bring the research, technology, development, and innovation perspective. Please welcome to the podium, Dr. Second on our panelist is Mr. Collins Omora from Greenyard Limited. Mr. Collins is the technical director at Greenyard Limited, and he brings in the industry and market implementation perspective. Karibu sana, Mr. Collins. My third panelist, I think he has stepped out. He's Engineer Kihara from EPRA. Do we have a replacement from EPRA on his behalf? My sister Ridwan. Do we have a replacement for him, or is? All right. Nevertheless, I think he did justice during his presentation, and he gave us a very detailed aspect of policy and regulation within the sector. Our third panelist is Engineer Ephantas Getonga, the County Director, Nairobi City County Director of Energy. He brings the county-level implementation and public sector planning perspective. Karibu sana, Engineer. So, gentlemen, we have 35 minutes. I don't know if you guys need to use the time, but we set 35 minutes, including the Q&A. So I will invite each one of you to give very focused and practical responses. At the end of the session, our aim is to not only know the challenges facing the sector, but also get to know priority actions that Kenya needs to take to actually move from small-scale biogas systems to large-scale. So let's begin. So my first question is directed to Dr. Jonathan Wavomba of Kirdi. From a research and technological development perspective, how would you describe the current state of biogas technology in Kenya? We've heard from Tobias, and we have seen how biogas has gone all the way to production of electricity. So here in Kenya, how is the technology and are the available technologies mature enough for wider adoption?
Thank you. From a research perspective, I think there is a lot. There's a lot of output from research, research on different feedstocks, research on yield, research on nutrient profile for the digestate. And I think what we have not done enough is now the translation of these outputs into income generation. Yes. So for me to say if the technology is mature or not, this depends on several things. Most of them is time. For a technology that has been researched for 20 plus years, cumulatively over a period of time, small improvements over a period of time, then we can say that there exists a very wide body of knowledge on this one. But the uptake has been slow. From data we know there are almost over 2 million households which have potential, necessary conditions for adoption of biogas production, at least at the households level. I don't know to what percentage we are in now. I saw from GIZ it's 10,000 households. They've been able to set up biodigesters. I don't know if there are any other funding bodies or contractors, their numbers, but it is still too low. So the technology exists, the uptake is too low. And if it's still too low at the households level, then for industrial, commercial level where we can be able to integrate with the national grid for electricity production, I think we still have some way to get there, a long way to get there, because we have first to improve our yields. We have to sort out our waste collection strategies, because we need to get the feed first correctly before we can even think of generating electricity. The bigger challenge from that one is waste segregation. We know we do not segregate our waste. We collect everything, and almost all of it ends up in the landfill. So I will say mature household level, technological viable, yes. Institutional level, we have seen from presenters here in the other sessions, they have been able to install. Kenya Prison and KDF have been able to do something for the institutions, but for the other side, commercial electricity production, we're not yet there. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question to you, Dr. Wabomba. When you did your presentation, you told us one of the mandates of QB is assisting, for example, founders to commercialize. So in the aspect of biogas, yes, we know the challenges and the reasons why we cannot transition from small scale to large scale. How can QB assist the small scale farmers to upscale?
Again, from Ken's perspective, our research is industry-driven or entrepreneur-driven. What you call a farmer, in our context, we'll call him an entrepreneur, because we believe that once he's setting up this biogas production facility, he's looking at it from the point of money. How much am I going to save, or how much am I going to make? So we will handle this client from his perspective first. If they have enough feedstock, if the technology is available for them to set up, and then KIRDI, through our own programs, if we have funded programs. If we do not have funded programs, then we'll request them to pay for the service. This is the training, the testing, and even equipment fabrication. That is how we will help them probably set up at their facility.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mabomba. Now I want to move to the industry and bring in Mr. Collins Obara. From an industry perspective, what is the reality on the ground when you guys are trying to sell, install, operate, and maintain biogas systems in Kenya?
The reality on the ground is that we still need more awareness. You find that even in some institutions, learning institutions be places where more information is found, and you still don't know about biogas. So the challenge we are having now is even awareness before even the financing. So you find that even people with the capacity to install biogas still don't know the technology awareness out there. So such forums as this and many others, which have improved of late, are making that not a challenge anymore, but still our main challenge. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just a follow-up on the same. For those who are aware, among the customers that you have, what is the biggest challenge in terms of maybe the initial cost of installing the biogas systems, the reliability, maintenance? What are they telling you?
So we two categories of because now we have two types of clients: the domestic ones and the commercial ones. The domestic ones, their main issue is finance, because we are dealing with farmers mostly. Over 90% of biogas are done by small-scale farmers. And now for the institutions, for example, the large-scale farms, we have another issue of capacity of local contractors. So you find that that is why we have over 40,000 biogas, more than 40,000 biogas plants. Over 90% of those are just small, because the big biogas systems are very few because of capacity of local contractors, and also that's the many that has been done are done by international companies that they come, they do the construction, but then there is an issue of maintenance, and after-sale services. Thus, you find plants that are done just changing a spare part. It has to be imported from Europe to here, because the few that I have been involved in, you find them a biogas waiting for just a specific part 2-3 months coming from Germany or India. So we have those two. The small scale mostly finance, the large scale is capacity of local contractors to handle such.
I'll still ask you a follow-up question on the same. So as Green and Limited, how do you now try to, especially like awareness, how do you try to bring awareness to your clients?
So we mostly, for us, we are a small company, so we tend to market and create awareness through social media. We use Facebook, TikTok, and those other to create more awareness. We also, when you do projects in schools, we tend to include the students and pupils in their, for every project that we do in a school, we tend to support their environmental or agricultural club to create awareness for the kids or students around that, and that has brought more fruits now.
Thank you so much. I'll now move to Engineer Ephantus Getonga. You gave a little brief on what Nairobi City County position is, but I want you to a little bit elaborate on what Nairobi City County is doing or what is its position with regards to biogas as a source of energy? Do you acknowledge it as a source of energy? And if that is the case, are there any biogas projects under the county?
Thank you so much. It's common knowledge and understanding that the biogas is a source of energy. And now, what I want to say is, if the seal, which is in this room, on the investment in biogas, I think if it happens in Nairobi, the Nairobi County will be the happiest county because of the waste management, because of the quantities that we produce. And on that, I want to say that as Nairobi County, we recognize biogas as a strategic renewable energy solution that supports clean energy generation, improved waste management, climate action, and green job creation. Given the large scale volumes production of waste, as I said here, 3,200 tons per day, it's an opportunity that can be utilized to generate enough biogas for Nairobi. Then, on the projects, currently we don't operate direct projects, but we support any investor who is engaging in the conversion of waste into whatever form of energy, including biogas.
Thank you so much. During your briefing, you also mentioned that you're dealing with cartel with regards to organic waste. As the local government, I think you have more power to actually deal with these cartels, because I want to believe you've even mentioned that there's so much potential in Nairobi in tapping to waste to energy. So, in your own perspective, what do you think is an impediment to counties in moving faster on biogas implementation projects?
Thank you so much. I think there are several challenges, but I think the major one is on financing and getting strategic partners like I have found today. If that can be escalated, I'm sure we can put this into practice and produce biomass out of what we have in Nairobi.
All right, thank you so much. I'll come back to Dr. Jonathan Wavomba and ask, should Kenya prioritize small household biogas system, or should the country now focus more on institutional or commercial scale biogas? And how can both grow in parallel without competing for attention and funding?
Thank you. I don't think it's a question of choice, really, because we need both biogas at household level and at institutional level. So if we are able to fund households level, I think that one is, I feel that one is more straightforward from the feedstock source. Smallholders are able to segregate their waste, could be able to generate an amount of gas sufficient for their clean cooking, and institutions likewise, if they are generating sufficient waste, then they are also able to produce enough. So if we can fund one, maybe for smallholders through rural improvement programs, or for institutions through some programs also to fund institutions, and be able to make them see the difference between biomass use directly, like firewood, and biogas, and the savings that they might make, then I think we need both.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll move to Mr. as an industry, and looking around within the conference, we have financial partners and other stakeholders. What is one, so for you as a Greenyard Limited, what support would you want to upscale your activities?
The support we'll need is like one of these, mostly like institutional support. There has been a gap between like the learning institutions like KIRDI and those institutions with the industry. Because most of us are in business, we run private companies, so we may not, we don't have enough resources for research, for example. And of late, such organizations like KIRDI and now a technical university have chipped in terms of helping the industry grow. In our sector, that's why you find most biogas in the country are just cow dung substrate, because we don't have information about other substrates. The testing laboratories were never there. Just a few years, I think some few years back now, we had KIRDI installing one, and now we are lucky to have two now with one. So there has been gap. There's been those technical gap that also, that's why even when clients are ready and finance is an issue for the commercial scale, they always go for the international contractors because the gap is still within. Yes.
Another follow-up question on the same. Do you find challenges in compliance on regulations, and especially the quality standards surrounding biogas production?
Yes, that has been a main challenge, especially until recently. Biogas has no standards at CAPS. Myself, I was involved in the TC 92 for making of the biogas domestic standards. Later, I was also involved in the making of the commercial biogas standards. But even with those, the TC1, the number of years that a standard should be reviewed, they went without market dissemination awareness or whatever. Even the engineers and the contractors on ground didn't know of their awareness. So that's one of the challenges we're having actually, that there could be activities that are helping, that are meant to help us qua ground, but you find that the information is there, but there is no effort of making it reach the right people.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on to Engineer Tonga. If Kenya wants biogas to become a mainstream sustainable energy solution, whom do you think should drive the sector? Should it be from an energy perspective, or a waste management perspective, or an agricultural or climate, or even county development planning?
Thank you for this question. Now, development of that one, actually all the four aspects that you have led through, they are very important when they are used in the management and development of biogas. For example, when we talk of the county systems, where, for example, you should be having a policy and a plan on how to apply the waste into biogas. And that one would help the development of the system and make it sustainable. When you look at the energy aspect of it, it's also an important aspect. But my question is, as I put earlier, because remember we are saying that we are generating this energy. And I think the presenter here, when he's saying that the challenge we have this kind of energy is the litigation. I think when we look at the energy aspect of it, because by the end of the day we want to produce this product and put it into use for the benefit of the people, it's also on the best way of economically moving it around for people to use.
Lastly, question to you. You mentioned about a policy being tabled at Nairobi City County Assembly. Would you please give us a glimpse of what is in that policy and how it will escalate biogas adoption in Nairobi City County?
Thank you. Remember, I said earlier that the function of biogas regulation and licensing is a default function. That is one of the aspects that is being addressed in that policy. And it is there to make it easy for the investors in this form of energy to take up it, develop, and use it as a good way of generating finances. Yeah, I sent it in the assembly, third reading, and we are very hopeful that very soon we will be able to apply it in the regulation and licensing of this form of energy in Nairobi.
Thank you so much. I really look forward to that day where somebody like Flexiters will visit your offices and easily be given a memorandum of understanding to work with Nairobi City County. My last question, so this is going to be a round of the last questions to all of you. And I'll start with Dr. Jonathan Ovomba. What, in maybe one sentence, what is the most important action Kenya can take in collaboration with institutions like KIRDI to strengthen research standards and commercialization of biogas in Kenya?
Thank you once again. The main action the government should do in relation to standards is funding. I know we have agreed on the funding aspects. With sufficient funding in this line of biogas standards and certification, then we shall be able to do the advocacy work, like a colleague here has just mentioned. The standard exists, but the information is not out there. So advocacy work can be done, and the general public will know exactly what to look for, where to look for, and when they are needing some assistance, where they can be adequately assisted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Collins Obora, this is the last question. And it's same to Dr. Jonathan Ovomba. As a stakeholder in the biogas ecosystem, how do you think the Kenyan government can assist you in upscaling your operations at Greenyard?
They should involve stakeholders more in whenever they are coming up with the policies. Like, for example, the question I asked the EPRA, they had some regulations that they gazetted, but more industry like myself and many other companies, they were not aware of the requirements, and they were, for most so they were impractical. The requirements were very impractical for most of us. You've also asked my colleague about, they are now coming with a policy, and in some stage of reading. By now, we should know that Nairobi County is at least discussing something that will affect our businesses. We don't know that yet, and maybe by the time they are being gazetted, it will be too far and now affecting our businesses. So such things we will humbly request the government to be more involving to sector holders, yes, just consult. And when we are involved, who you are seeing here, Collins, it's just like 1%. Majority of biogas, like you can see in the records, are small scale. So most of them are done by technicians who may not have got an opportunity to be in this room. So they need involvement from maybe some of us, not just from the agricultural officers and those people that are to disseminate the information enough before they are published and now gazetted and started to affect our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So at this point, we're going to welcome questions to our panelists.
Yeah, because of the constraints of time, we'll take only 3 questions. And since this is an engineering institution, we are very brief in the way we give questions. Yes, so go directly to your question. Yes, we can have a question. If there is none, we can proceed to, yes.
Thank you, Kano Mwasaru. This goes to all of you. Who do you think benefits from improved understanding and awareness of the essence of biogas as an alternative source of energy that is creeping into the scene as a means of energy in some sectors or in some societies, and who should therefore spearhead the awareness campaign so that you manage the transition from small, low uptake to high uptake, from small scale to large scale, and so on. Thank you.
Yes, so financial constraint is a constant problem. So is it a third world country problem or a government problem?
Because this is a constant problem across all the dockets. Thank you.
Do you have any other question?
Any other question? But I think because of the constraints of time, we can address those. Yes.
Thank you. I'll go first. Allow me to refer to you as Mwasaru. I can't pronounce your title. In biogas, the biggest beneficiary is the community. And by community, the custodian of the community is the government. The community, if they don't have clean energy sources, they will go for the forests. They will go for the trees. So the body that should spearhead the adoption of this alternative source of energy, from my perspective, is the central government. And they should be responsible for leading the awareness programs. Because if one area of probably of the country or one village does it, and the next village does not take this source of energy seriously, and probably they are sharing a forest, the destruction will still go on. And the second question from the gentleman, I did not get your name. I do not represent the national government, so I cannot talk of the budget constraints that it is facing. So, sorry, out of scope for me.
So Collins, maybe you could answer the awareness. So,
Energy issue, mostly from petroleum and of lately now solar solar mostly. But when you look at how most of the countries sort energy issues, is not going it through one way. We need energy integration, all of them. So like now we know that our industry, we need more power than what we are generating. And when you go to countries like Germany, biogas is contributing very much into their energy grid. We've had discussions with EPRA and government to help in terms of tariff that commercial farmers are trying, those who are able enough to supply to the grid. We've had differences in terms of the government is still offering low tariffs. So government should take certain actions in terms of being it commercially viable for the industry now to contribute to energy as a whole. Most likely now, even the biggest of biogas plants in the country, the one that has capacity to supply the grid, they are just consuming in their farms and their businesses because it's more expensive supplying to the government than using it on your own. So the government should take that initiative as one way other than solar or maybe water geothermal to include biogas discussion more in their policies.
Thank you so much. Engineer?
Thank you. The first issue is on beneficiary, and my first panelist put it very well. It benefits everyone. And if we take a case, for example, the presenter from prisons, the engineer from prisons headquarters, he's saying that one of the issues they are trying to address is deforestation. If that happens, it does not affect one person, but it cuts across because it is an atmospheric issue. So the beneficiaries are everyone, me and you. The issue of biogas is not a segmented problem or issue to anyone, any section of the globe, but it's a global issue that should be undertaken by everyone. And that's why we have our partners here from Germany. They are not coming us to show us what they do, what we do, but they are showing us what they do so that we do together. So I think it's a global thing that should be adopted by everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If the last question, take another question at the back.
I think we'll just take that one question and question. Don't beat around.
Or are you suspecting that I beat around the bush? I've just come late. I don't know the presenters. I know they must be coming from county governments of Nairobi. Nairobi City County Government. I've worked closely with Nairobi City County Government. I also teach here in the Department of Business, but I do a lot of business with Nairobi City County Government also. Now, about biogas is a small area which has been exploited for a long time. And I want to know whether the Nairobi City County Government has even a ministry of energy. Because I've never heard of the Ministry of Energy. You see counties have ministries. I've not heard of the energy in Nairobi City County Government. Because biogas, apart from looking at it from the environmental perspective, you can also look at it from the energy perspective. Now we have heard of projects with the previous government such as waste energy project. So what are you doing as a ministry in Nairobi City County Government to ensure that we utilize biogas? Because you are generating a lot of solid waste which we are dumping. You see, I'm talking from a chemistry background. I did chemistry in the first degree. So I'm very much interested in many issues, energy issues, and other issues.
Thank you so much. One, there is that ministry that deals with energy, and the ministry is called Mobility and Works. And under Works, we have several directorates. One of the directorates is Energy and Lighting. That's where I belong. And what we are doing, as I said earlier, is that we have developed a policy. We are waiting for its enactment to become law so that we apply it to do the biogas business using guided by that policy.
Thank you very much. But lastly, I think Engineer Fantas, you could also answer the question raised by the gentleman on who is responsible on the allocation of funds with regards to renewable energy. Is it the national government, or should we source this money from non-government organizations?
Yeah.
The gentleman asked a question on, you see, most of us are talking about lack of finances or funding. So with regards to renewable energy and clean cooking in Kenya, should we only anticipate the national government to fund these projects, or should we highly rely on the national government, or should we highly rely on the non-governmental organization?
Thank you. I think both players are important. May it be national government, may it be county, may it be private, as long as there's a structured way of employing the resources into the biogas. Yeah. Whoever contributes, it makes a positive impact.
And within the City County, do you have budget allocation for the same?
Exactly. It's part of the renewable energy as it's factored in the budget. In my directorate, we have that in my budget.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've had a very rich conversation here, and it is clear that most of these organizations are working in silos, and I think it is high time we broke those boundaries or barriers and come together and work together in ensuring that biogas moves from household implementation to large-scale production. And so I hope this discussion does not end here, and we pray that this conference brings stronger partnerships among researchers, private companies, regulators, financiers, and the community at large. So please join me in appreciating our panelists. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Jora. We've had a very interesting conversation as well. And we are looking forward to even more engaging conversations beyond that point. He raised a point on financing, and I think that will be the key thing of the coming panel. Yeah? And I think our colleagues here will be able to tell us as well their model in Germany in terms of how they finance those framework, right? And as we've said, hopefully next year we have a more engaging conference, and we are looking forward to engage more development partners to make it even a success as well, right? Yes. As I invite to invite the next panel, the last one of the days. So at this point, I will invite my mentor. I think that best describes it. Yeah, so let me invite you to the job, Engineer Bess, to come and continue.
Thank you, Mide. Thank you all. And as we continue on, our last question was a great question as we transition into this section on finance, where we'll be looking at the whole issue of financing and international cooperation. So we've been looking at biogas today, and as we should all be able to see, there are a number of different arms that are actually there as we look at this topic, as we go through this conference. We see the issue of energy, because the reason we want biogas is energy, and we know energy is very much intimately linked to our development. The whole issue of climate and the environment is there as well as waste management and clean cooking. So these are all issues as it relates to the whole topic. If we look at the inclusive concept around biogas. And so today we have 4 well-informed persons who can help us to take us through the whole issue as it relates to financing within the biogas sector. And so please allow me to invite Dr. Benoit. I hope I haven't messed your name. Benoit. Tut mir leid. Deutsch, ich kann ein bisschen tun. Aber French, ich kann auch. Benoit Hazard. He is a prominent French anthropologist and current regional director of CNRS, that is the French National Center for Scientific Research. So he's here at the regional office in Nairobi, leading scientific cooperation across East, Central, and West Africa. May I please also invite our co-sponsors here, from the Institute of New Energy System, Ms. Jessica Forster. She has been with the Institute, THI, since 2024, and is the project coordinator for our project here. She specializes in economics, and so as we look at the finance aspects, I think she's more than capable of helping us in that area. Please allow me to invite Mr. Tobias as well, Baldauf, from the Institute as well. He has been with the Institute since 2021, and he specializes in large-scale biogas plants. And that's one of the aspects we've been looking at, to move from small to large-scale systems as it relates to our biogas systems here in Kenya. Please allow me also to invite Mr. Michael Okoth. We heard from him earlier today. Mr. Okoth, as we saw from today, he's with GIZ, and he's the advisor to access to finance. And one of the persons who actually challenged us earlier today about the whole issue of financing of our projects. So as I said, there are many arms. If we look at the whole issue around biogas, there are many arms. Other than just the energy aspect, there's also waste management, clean cooking, and so on as it relates to biogas. And so at the heart of that is the question of how do we finance that. The other aspect is that we are looking not only at small-scale systems, but we also have medium and large-scale systems. And dependent on the type of system we have, then the financing of our biogas plant becomes an issue. Typically, the financing mix for biogas projects is about 35% grants or donations. We have some equity or commercial loans, which is around 20%, about 30% concessional loans, and we have the 15% carbon credits. But as I said, we do have the issue from small to large, moving from small to large scale, plants. And so my first question is to both Mr. Benoit and to Ms. Jessica, please, in terms of the opportunities for joint ventures of transfer between Kenya, Mr. Benoit and French companies and Jessica, that aspects in terms of strengthening capacity building to move from just small scale to commercial scale biogas projects in Kenya. Mr. Benoit?
Thank you, Santesa. I will give a talk on two sides. So I am the director of the CNRS office in Nairobi, and we have a network. We recently organized a big scientific event at the African Academy of Science on energy of the future, and the issue of biomass and biogas was part of this this meeting, with a lot of research team Kenyan, but not only Kenyan, and they were part of this conference, and it was quite interesting to have this overview. And on the other side, I have been leading over the last 4 years a project which is entitled LOTER, and it's where it's fitting with your question. LOTER, the first title of LOTER project was Embodied Energy. And the idea at this moment, it was a partnership that the CNRS developed with the Department of Innovation of Masai Mara University. And we were looking at how to provide alternative energy to people who don't have access to energy, and especially in the region of Narok, Narok County, you know that there is a lot of geothermal activity there, but a lot of people don't benefit of the electric grid. So our purpose was to think what kind of low-tech energy we can provide to these people. With one another question correlated to this one, so quickly we identified, okay, we can try to look at the biogas, because making biogas for community that are pastoralist community, it's very easy. They are using cow dung, and depending on the quality of the cow dung, you can easily produce biomethane through an anaerobic digestion. But more widely, one of the questions is that when we talk about biogas, we know what kind of technology we are talking about in terms of chemistry, in terms of physics and so on. But one of our questions, because this partnership is an interdisciplinary partnership, and interdisciplinarity is very important today when we are looking for funds. We started to look at the box biomethane as a value chain for energy. And then trying to understand, okay, what is happening when the pastoralist community are shifting from firewood, when the women have to collect for 7 hours wood to cook at night, and what will happen when they will shift to the biogas system. So when you start to do this, you include the social component in the box. Because you realize that the Maasai women spending 7 hours collecting wood, they will get more free time with the biogas system, maybe for education of the children instead of being exposed to the snake. So when we are talking about biomethane, I think we have to take into account all this consideration. And one additional one, which is very important in the LOTER project, is that biomethane is producing methane. So if we look at the standard, the global standard in the discussion on climate change, it's not an acceptable technology actually. And one of the challenges is to make this technology clean in such a way that we can argue that for the pastoralist societies, having a lot of livestock, producing a lot of methane natural emission, maybe it's better to use this kind of technology to use energy instead of having natural emission. And when you compare, it's what we did in this project, you compare the quantity of natural methane emission in the compound where the livestock is stocked, and when this methane or the cow dung is stocked in the box and transformed in CO2, you see that the balance is really in favor of the technology. But one of the questions is that this technology has to be optimized, taking into account all the constraints of the climate change. And this is where we need interdisciplinarity too. So social aspect, technology is not only a technology, it has to be optimized. And third, the question of the scale, to come back to your question. The LOTER project is not working on a small scale dimension and even large scale. We choose to develop the technology, and it is a political choice within our researcher team to make it at the medium level, as a cooperative level, at the community level. The reason being that today, many companies are implementing biogas system everywhere. It's a business in Kenya. But how do we ensure that we have the control over the constraint relevant for climate change? If you set a biogas system at the domestic level, you don't know what is happening in the house. You don't have any control on methane emission. So there is really one issue there, which is also dealing with the question of regulation of biomethane, not only in Kenya, but in Africa. Because if you look at the question of what are the regulation systems today in place in Africa when we deal with biomethane, there is none. And I have to say here that because Kenya has developed this technology at the individual level, in the private sector, and so, maybe it could be the country to elaborate such a standard for the whole Africa. As Kenya has been the pioneer for environmental issues, it can also be the pioneer in terms of showing that a technology that is predicted as a pollutant technology can be maybe a greener technology. But we need to think about it and to work on this. So what we believe in the LOTER project, which is now involving Cooperative University of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, because there are some connection we do with the solar system to think the circularity and so on. So it is that the biogas system is really relevant at the cooperative level. And one of the issues is that when you make it as a low technology, it can be appropriated by the local community. It means if you organize a training of the community, it's something that the women can manage by themselves through CBO or this kind of organization. And this is one of the reasons we did it. So I will not talk about the large scale because I don't have the skills for that. And I think that the project we are trying to develop is quite inclusive because it's based on a co-construction between CNRS researcher, Kenyan researcher, even Tanzanian, but also the community, because we involve the community from the beginning in the process of building this biogas system. I've been already too long, so it was just a short description, but just to explain to you what is the take of our project and where we believe, or what kind of project we believe we can support and trying to fund, because they are in accordance with the value of the CNRS regarding some environmental issues.
Thank you.
Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much. So regarding to the question, what lessons learned also in terms of financing from Germany we can transfer to the Kenyan context? Of course, we all know that it also very much always depends on the localized context, so we cannot have one fit or solution. I think my colleague mentioned this morning that the development of the German biogas sector was very much driven also by state implementation. But I think this brings us to the question why Germany also has a lot of large-scale biogas plants, and I think the key word here is trust, that there's a lot of trust in the technical capacities, that if a biogas plant is built up, it kind of should work with some issues, which Toby can maybe talk later. You trust the companies installing the plant. You also trust the financial mechanisms behind, because those are very heavily state regulated, so that a lot of entrepreneurs, farmers, investors dare to go for it. And I think this is something which we, in all aspects, very often touched upon today, like the technical capacities, the financing, the regulations, and this is nothing which we can ignore when talking about the technical specifications always. So I hope this answers it more or less a bit.
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe you can, Bulldog, you can also add to that, because your focus has been on large-scale systems. So in terms of that, if you could add.
Test.
Okay, that's good so far. So I think what you said, Jessica, is really important.
That depends on the individual location, on the individual situation of a biogas plant. Because I think what we maybe did not talk enough about today is that biogas or biomass in general is like so flexible. Like you could basically produce mostly anything out of it: energy, products, substitutes for crude oil, whatever. So I think that's something that we have to keep always in mind. When we are talking about large-scale biogas plants, I think what there is really, really important is the legal framework within you are working. So you need to know what is happening in the next 20 years, basically, in order to properly and successfully plan it. I think that's one of the most important things. And that's maybe where, so I guess that's what is so difficult at the moment in Kenya, because in Germany we would say it's like this chicken-egg problem, because on the one side you need a proper legal framework to do it, but on the other side you need to somehow show that it's really working or how it can work. So I think there you have to find some way.
Okay, thank you so much. So you see that there are quite a lot of challenges as we try to move from a small or medium scale type project to a large scale product where we can be generating a few kilowatts or megawatts from biomass. The issue of financing remains therefore there as a fundamental aspect. We know we can have, in the biogas space, we can have funding from multilateral banks, climate funds, bilateral donors, the UN and agencies, NGOs, private finances. And that there are a number of different instruments that are there. I'd mentioned before. Largely, we're looking at grants and concessional loans when we talk about biogas financing. So if I could ask Mr. Okoth, I think I've got your name. Okoth is right, yes, thank you. So yes, you as a financial advisor for projects, where do you see us going in terms of sourcing, seeking finance to look at projects? And if you could look at them in terms of small, medium, and large-scale projects already we've heard that even for small-scale projects, you're looking at around 80,000 Kenyan shillings. That was what one of our presenters said earlier. And that in itself is a